Hi there, I'm Jonathan Fields, and this is Good Life Project. So my guest today is Lewis Howes, and Lewis is a good friend of mine, and maybe about as close as I can think of to the definition of what I would call a modern-day Renaissance man, a former All-American athlete, pro football player, turned multi-million-dollar business owner, turned athlete who's now representing the United States in international competition. And we're going to really kind of dive into that journey with him. So awesome to be hanging out with you.
Thanks, Jonathan.
So it's kind of funny because there are just so many directions that we could go with the conversation. You're doing so many different things right now. But let's take a sort of like a big step back, because you're somebody who, maybe more than anybody I've ever met in my life, embodies this idea of champion's mindset. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen you apply this mindset to literally anything and completely dominate, just completely own whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I'm always curious when I see people like that, you know, where that came from. You know, like, so when you go back into your life, how did that sort of come together?
You know, I've been sharing this story a lot with people lately for some reason. And it started, if you want to break it down psychologically, when I was a kid. It started when I was in 4th grade. It actually started much earlier than that, but 4th grade was a defining moment for me. I was playing dodgeball on recess, and we broke up our class into 2 teams. And they picked the 2 most popular kids. Our teacher picked like 2 of the popular kids to be pickers for the teams. And I remember thinking, they've got to pick me first. I'm one of like the taller kids, I'm more athletic. They've got to pick me. I'm usually really good on the playground. And
I love that. It's like 3rd or 4th grade. I'm pretty good on the playground.
Right. Well, I was good at like tetherball and all that stuff. I was like, I can be good at this. And they start picking guys, right? There's probably like, let's say there's 15 guys and 15 girls in our class. So they start picking one after one, all the guys. I'm thinking, when are they gonna pick me? And all the guys get picked and not me. Then they start picking girls. I'm like, they've gotta pick me over this girl, right? And it came down to the last pick. And so no one actually picked me. They just said, okay, by default, you're on the next person's team, right? And I remember being so frustrated and just angry, upset, unaccepted, all those different things. And I realized, you know, I went out with a vengeance and just like dominated everyone on the dodgeball court. Like, I was so mad. I was catching everyone's balls. I was hitting everyone. But I remember after that moment, I was just like, I hate this feeling of being last, being picked last by default.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was that feeling that I just never wanted to have ever again. And I think it was that kind of set the stage for me. Every day after that, I was at the basketball courts. I was playing basketball. I was working out. I was doing whatever I could to play sports after school. And eventually it became, I was hanging out with the high school kids playing basketball when I was in middle school. I started beating them. I started the development of my body. I wasn't this tall, weird-looking kid anymore. I was starting to mature. And I realized that winning came acceptance. And people started to recognize me and say, wow, good job, you know, let's pick you first. And I think that was kind of like the transition. Slowly started to see the more I win, the more acceptance I get, the more, you know.
Let me stop you though for a second, because so I know you now.
Yep.
Like in this, we've known each other for a number of years now. And, you know, the last thing that I think of when I think about you is somebody who's concerned about acceptance. Because you tend to walk into a room, be very comfortable, be talking to somebody. I didn't mention also you're a salsa dancer. You present as somebody who's so ridiculously confident and completely almost oblivious to the notion of whether people care about you or accept you. But is that still there?
You know, it probably is somewhere deep down. I don't really recognize it that much, if it is, because I think I, just learned to be okay alone. I remember feeling very sad all the time when I'd be left alone. I was the youngest of 4 kids. My parents had a couple of jobs each, and they were trying to just support us and provide for us. So it was always like the left out sibling. And so I had to learn how to be okay with that, be okay with being alone, have fun with myself, create games for myself, but then also just appreciate people when I was around other people. And I think going into middle school and high school and college, I started to mature and learn how to understand different situations and be okay with who I was. And so now it's not an issue. I like being alone, actually. I've conditioned myself to be alone.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the fear in the past of actually being alone or something, I don't know, but it's not an issue anymore.
Yeah, and it's interesting also because when so a lot of this starts as, okay, I'm picked last. I need to show people that I deserve to be picked first.
Right? Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to go out there and do everything I can. And especially at that age, a lot of kids would just be dejected. They'd be like, oh, okay, I guess I suck.
Right.
You know, and all right, I'll go and do what I need to do. You know, I was picked last. I'm the kid, and they would self-identify as it. I'm the kid who always gets picked last, and there's nothing I can do about it. That's my lot in life.
Right.
You have the exact opposite response. And like, I wonder where that fortitude comes from at such a young age to not actually let that moment define you.
You know, I do not know. I just know that my dad always motivated us to be great. He always gave us like big dreams and big hopes and goals. And he said, you can achieve whatever you want. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to do it, you can do it. And I think seeing my siblings have such great success. My brother was one of the top violinists in the world as a teenager, and seeing him kind of really succeed at an early age, I was like, if he can do it, I can do it, type of thing. You know.
So he kind of set the bar.
He set the bar. He was like this, idol, and set the stage. And so I was just trying to catch up.
Yeah. So you end up becoming this super high performance athlete and taking this mindset and just applying it to everything. It's really like in the world of athletics. And at one point, what was your main sport for?
Main sport, I guess, was really football and basketball.
Okay.
But then I stopped growing. So I told myself, if I want to be a pro athlete, I've got to find the best sport for my athletic build. And that was football at the time, from high school to college to pro. So, but there was something like in high school. I remember you sharing this story with me about the sort of like the AllAmerican challenge and how you like did a whole lot of major shifting in course because you set your sights on this one thing. I'd love to share a little bit about that story. You know, I was really, my best sport is basketball, and I realized that if I wanted to be, I always wanted to be an All-American athlete. Growing up, I realized that was the best of the best in the country and college were All-Americans. My love was basketball, and I realized that I couldn't really excel at basketball at a collegiate level based on my height. I would have to learn, all sorts of new skills to excel at the collegiate level. So I took up football my sophomore year in high school. I'd never played before, but I took it up, realizing that this could be an opportunity to do in college. Right. And kind of took on the sport, and I ended up making All-American in college with football. Right.
So didn't you also become a decathlete?
I did become a decathlete. So in college, I was doing high jump and like the 100-meter dash just in the spring to train for like football, just to get faster.
Right.
And I'd done track, a couple years in high school, so I was like, I could sprint, I could jump or whatever. But my senior year in college, I actually got injured playing football in the second game of the season. And that was the year I thought I was going to make the All-American team. I should have gotten a couple years prior. I broke a world record and was like the second leading receiver in the country. But our team didn't do that well, so they usually picked the athletes who were on the better team. So my senior year, I get injured. I break 3 ribs. Someone spears me with a helmet and break 3 ribs. And I'm out for the rest of the year. And or the rest of the season. I remember thinking, well, I may be done with my college football career, but there's still 1 season left in sports after I recover, and that's track. I can't make All-American as a sprinter, as a high jumper, or any of these different individual sports.
Because you're not good enough at any one.
I mean, I was good, but I wasn't
not
the best, right?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, what if I put them all together in 10 events, and I learn how to do them all very quickly, then maybe there's a chance I can make All-American team. So I remember calling up my coach and saying, I've just recovered from my ribs. I can start jogging now. I know it's about 5.5 months until the national championships, but I would like to be an All-American decathlete. And she kind of like joked with me for a minute. She said, you're gonna have to train really, really hard, and there's no guarantees and this and that. She's like, I think you're
coming off 3 broken ribs.
3 broken ribs. I wasn't even walking for a couple months. I couldn't even lift my arm because it was just extremely painful. And she said, you have to do everything I tell you to do starting at this moment if you want to give yourself a good chance. And then the rest is up to you at getting to nationals. And I said, I'll do whatever. If you tell me to eat lima beans, I'll eat lima beans. If I stop eating milkshakes, whatever it is, I'll do whatever you tell me. And I basically did exactly what she said for the next 5.5 months. Got up extremely early, worked out every day with her one-on-one, stayed after practice every day to learn all the different skills I needed for the pole vault, for the javelin, for the discus, the shot put. And this is a whole nother conversation, but basically barely made it to nationals. They take the top 16 in the country. I barely make it through the cut. And then I barely, I almost messed up a few times where I could have lost the competition. And then I got top 8 at nationals. I got 8th place in the top 8, make All-American. So I barely made All-American that
So literally in the span of 5.5 months coming off of 3 broken ribs, you become one of the best in the country at completely different sport.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good experience.
So again, there's this sort of like common theme of resilience that it kind of blows my mind, because there's so many opportunities along the way where like you're in pain, where things don't go, you get bad breaks. And we'll talk more about how this evolves too. Yeah. And so many people would just be, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And your mind somehow has developed the ability to reframe it and say, maybe not this, but same mindset applied to something else.
Yeah, it's, I don't know what it is. If it's, I grew up in a specific religion. My dad grew us up in a religion called Christian Science, which I no longer really practice. But the principles and the mindset that I learned from that was really all about mind over matter and anything is possible. That's pretty much what I take from what I learned. And having that kind of ingrained in you over and over, when you're experiencing hard times as a kid, when you're, scraping your knee or doing something, or you get a bad grade on a test, whatever it may be, you learn these things a little bit as you go. And as someone keeps telling you, you can achieve anything, mind over matter if you get injured. I don't know. You start to believe it and start to think you can do whatever you want.
Which is so interesting too, right? Because so many people come up in faiths that are based on don't shine.
Right.
Where there's some variation of the teaching, like if you shine in any way, it's arrogance, and you've got to be humble. And I believe in being humble, and I've seen that in you in so many ways. But the fundamental teaching, or at least like the way that people translate it, is don't do anything that's going to make you stand out. That's going to show your excellence.
Right.
And it sounds like you had, even though this may not be what you're practicing these days, the foundation in like this fundamental teaching of no, like. If you want it, make it happen. Make it happen, and you're capable.
I think I think the way if you're humble and you're focusing on shining to inspire as opposed to be the man or the woman. But if you're I think we're here to shine really, but to shine to like inspire ourselves and inspire others. What's possible.
And it's such a huge point also. And it's funny, I have this conversation around money with a lot of people. So many people I know are very capable of generating a lot of money, but they don't want it. There's this really bad association with money. And to me, it's like, okay, so, you're capable of generating more money than you could ever spend, and so if you can do that, there's nothing bad in doing it, but, take the frame that, okay, I'm a conduit.
Right.
So I've developed a skill set, ability, and knowledge set, relationships, whatever it is, that allows me to generate a substantial amount of money. I don't need all of this money. So instead of not generating it, why don't I generate it and then serve as a conduit so then I can take this and I can pass it out to people less fortunate or causes I believe in or individuals. Even so it's almost like, and that reframe I think for a lot of people is really similar to a lot of what you're talking about. It's sort of like, it's about the intention behind it.
Yeah, I can make as little or as much money as I want personally, but it's like I've got enough to support myself, my basic needs are met, but I want to keep making more so I can help more and inspire myself as well, that anything's possible, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of continue on with your journey. From there, you become a pro football player, but it's a pretty short-lived career.
Short-lived, yeah. So after wanting to be an All-American, my next goal was to be a professional athlete. I thought, doing something where you get to play a sport every day and get paid, that would be the ultimate dream, the ultimate lifestyle. And I was trying to make the NFL. That's kind of the ultimate professional goal. Didn't end up making it, wasn't good enough, but did play in the professional Arena Football League. In the first couple games of the season, I ended up diving to catch a football and broke my wrist against the wall because it's indoor. And ended up playing the rest of the season with a broken wrist, but I had to have surgery at the end of the year, retire from football, and kind of my dream of being a pro athlete was over.
So I'm curious, when you were in Arena also, in the back of your mind, are you also thinking, I'm going to prove myself here so I can get up to NFL?
every day it was, how can I make it to the NFL? And everyone else was trying to make it to the NFL as well. Because we'd hear about stories of other guys who played in the previous year who are now on such and such team. And the guys would drop down every year from the NFL. So I was playing with a couple guys who had played in the NFL.
Right.
And guys were moving up. So that's all we talked about. Everyone focused on moving up to the NFL. And that's the only reason I was there.
So, and then you get this devastating injury, which basically says football is done for you at any level.
Well, I tried to just, be in denial about it. When I broke it, I knew I broke it, but I was like, I'm just going to tape it up and play through the pain.
I'll play through.
So that's what I did. I was excruciating pain. Every time I catch a football or block someone, it was just like always a sharp pain in my wrist. And I'd broken it 7 years prior to that in a high school football game and never got it set because I didn't want to sit out. So I had this broken wrist for about 7 years that kind of just was always nagging me. And I was in denial. I did not want to give it up. And I think a lot of people do that in pro sports. They're in denial about letting go, giving it up. If they're injured, being done. And so that's why I stuck it out the whole season. I thought I was going to recover and come back the next year and keep going to the NFL. Yeah. Eventually I realized that wasn't going to happen. So I had to figure something else out to do.
Man, so and you had surgery.
I had surgery. I was in a full-arm cast from here to here for 6 months.
So you're for 6 months you're like this?
6 months like this, yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't have a place to live because I didn't have any money, so I was sleeping on my sister's couch for that year, really while I was recovering. I was in debt. I was living off credit cards, and it was all about what is my next move. I had no clue what to do next. My whole life was defined around being an athlete.
Yeah.
I didn't have a backup plan. I hadn't graduated college yet. This was early 2008 when the economy was pretty bad in the U.S. So for me, it was just kind of like this state of what's next? What am I going to do?
And probably the first time in your life, like in your memory since you were maybe a little kid, where you didn't know it was next, or like you didn't have a clearly defined goal.
I didn't, and that was the really scary thing. When you're growing up, all you hear, you go to school and you work out as an athlete. It's like you go to practice, you work out. In the summers, I was just training. I had like a couple little part-time jobs, and there's no responsibility. There's no thought of like, how am I going to provide for myself? I was like living this amazing kind of fantasy dream world while I was playing sports my whole life, basically.
Right. And
then I got paid to play, and then it was gone. And I was 23 or 24, and I was like, what am I going to do with the rest of my life?
So not only do you not like have a major goal that's like really easy and just laid out in front of you, it's almost like the definition of who you've been for years is stripped away.
It's my identity.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my father had gotten a really bad car accident my senior year in college. And so he had, a head injury, which forced him to not be able to work anymore. He's still alive, but he's kind of like he's unable to do a lot of the same things he used to do. He's changed a little bit, and he's still dealing with a lot of the different things that have happened to him physically. So I wasn't able to rely on my dad, who I did rely on through high school and college to kind of fund my summers and my spring breaks to let me train. I always had this kind of crutch that, I can go work for him if I ever need to.
Right.
He's got this business, which, he was a life insurance agent. I didn't want to do that though, but I was always like, I can do this if I want to. So after football, I'm covered. Now I had this mindset as I'm screwed because I don't have my dad to lean on for like giving me some money on the side to like pay for food or whatever, or help me with rent. It was, I've got to learn how to grow up pretty fast, make my own money, not rely on my family, and live off my sister's couch.
And not rely on like everything you trained for.
Everything I trained for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all it was eat, sleep, breathe, sports, training, working out. That was it. So it was an extremely scary 6 to 12 months for me.
Yeah. So where do you go from there?
So what I did is kind of rely on, I guess the things I learned, which is I'm grateful that I was always taught to have a good attitude about things in every situation. That's one thing I learned as well. It's just always have a good attitude. And I remember thinking that there's got to be some way I can turn this around. If my brother, who when he was 19 went to prison for 4 years for selling drugs to an undercover cop, went from being on the top of the world, I was a classical violinist, went to prison for 4 years, got out on good behavior early, and then has risen to the top of the jazz world as a top jazz violinist, was able to transform his life and create a career out of that.
Yeah.
I said, me getting injured is not as bad as going to prison for 4 years and the things that he had to experience.
Right.
So I'm going to take this opportunity and try to make the best of it. What I did is I realized that I really didn't have any skills. I could communicate with people, I could build relationships, and I could learn pretty fast. So I did what I'd done my whole life, which is find great coaches, and which are mentors in the business world.
Yeah.
And I basically found a few great mentors who put up with me for about 2 years while I nagged them and harassed them and asked them questions and tried to add value in their life.
So here's my curiosity around this. Broken former football player lying on his sister's couch with an elbow like this. Hey, world-class mentor. You're like, trust me, I'm going to be a big business person. Give me your time and your love and your adoration. How do you find those people, and how do you actually convince them, like, this is legit? It's going to be worth it for you.
It's funny. I remember thinking to myself when I was injured, I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know I want to speak in front of a large audience. Because I like performing in front of big crowds, playing football, playing in front of 10, 20,000 people. So I remember thinking to myself, if I'm going to be running a company or if I'm going to be speaking or something, I need to be able to present in front of people. And so right away I took up Toastmasters. I met someone who's a professional speaker that said, take up Toastmasters if you want to learn how to speak. So I went to Toastmasters every week. I practiced public speaking, and then I found someone in Toastmasters that I really admired that I wanted to speak like, and I harassed them. And I just said, I'll do whatever, I'll learn from you, I'll help with anything in your business. And I think they either had pity on me, or they just really appreciated kind of my drive and my hustle, my willingness to learn from them. I think that's why they kind of accepted me. Another one, I had actually invented this product. So when you have this cast on for 6 months, it starts to smell, it starts to, it's always scratching your clothes, it's like ripping your face off when you put it in your face, whatever. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to protect my body, my skin, and my clothes. So I invented this Cast Comfy, I called it, which is basically a huge cushion sleeve that you put over your arm in your cast. And now there's another company that does this, but at the time, no one was really doing it. So I met a famous inventor and said, I want to license this, I want to take this to market. And after a few months of harassing him and letting him know that I was the real deal and I was willing to hustle, he brought me on as a student of his as well.
So he said, okay, not so interested in the product, but he
did like
you're
the
relentless.
Product. He liked the product as well, but he more invested in his time in me. Yeah.
It sounds like a huge part of the lesson here is just perseverance. I mean, you call it harassing people,
right?
But you're a good-natured guy. Like, it's not like, hey, listen,
not really harassing people.
I'm gonna, paint your house weird colors or something. It's but it's basically like, set your sights on that person, or that relationship, or whatever it is. Yeah. And again, it's that same mindset. It's like, and don't stop until you get what you want.
Yeah, and I was providing value to my mentors as well. I wasn't just like, teach me everything and I'm going to leave. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. A lot of people, when they reach out to you or me to like have us mentor them or something, it's like they really got to think about the value they're bringing to someone to teach them. I think if it's going to be if they're not getting paid or whatever.
And I totally agree. And what's kind of interesting too is, for me, we both mentored a lot of people. And I love doing it. When I have the time to do it, it's like, it's a real gift when it works both ways. Yeah. But that currency, a lot of people are like, well, I got nothing to give this person. Yeah. What could I possibly give them? And for a lot of mentors, like the most valuable currency you give them is actually taking action.
That's it.
Because it's so frustrating to sort of like to feel like you really want to help somebody and they come to you and you decide, I'm going to invest in them. And then great conversations, you're sharing, okay, let's do this or give them, and then nothing happens. But it's amazing when you have that same dynamic and you talk with somebody. Maybe you meet them once a month to have coffee and then the next month you're like, so how did it all go? And they've got I did boom, 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 boom. And it makes you both feel amazing.
That's rewarding.
So rewarding because you're like, you know what? The time that I'm putting in, it's making a real difference because this person's actually taking action on it. And I think it's a huge lesson for a lot of people. It's like, don't ever look at somebody and say, well, I got nothing to give them. If you can actually convince them that it's worth the investment, and then you step up and take action, and really show them, it's a tremendous gift for the person who's mentoring you.
It is. And I was hustling nonstop. I was taking so much action.
I would imagine.
I was like, tell me what to do, and I did it instantly for, a long time. And I think seeing results from someone else is like a big key to that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I feel there's a Yiddish word called nachas, which is similar to like there's a Buddhist term called appreciative joy also, and it's essentially like it's the joy that you feel when somebody who you care so deeply about succeeds, that you feel it as your own success.
Right. Right.
And that's an amazing. You don't have to be the one that's out there doing the things to succeed yourself. If you've developed that relationship with a handful of people, you get everything you need through watching them flourish.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you start to put together your team, and then you go into like a completely different world, and so now you become a businessman. But you didn't just take the regular approach, like, hey, let me go get a job somewhere in some company. You're like, no, I'm going to start something really cool and build it myself from the ground up that nobody else is doing.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to create something. I didn't know how to start a company or what an entrepreneur really meant. And I remember it was about 9 to 10 months after living on my sister's couch. And I got my cast off after 6 months, but I was still living there trying to figure out what am I going to do next. Yeah. One of my other mentors suggested getting on LinkedIn. He was like, why don't you use LinkedIn as a platform to build relationships with executives, meet people, see what opportunities you can find. Maybe you can get a job or something. So I was spending a lot of my time on LinkedIn, connecting with people one-on-one, trying to connect with them myself, but then also connect them with each other and help them build their business. And I realized that my sister was like, okay, she was so amazing. I mean, it was like the most amazing support I could have ever asked for. She never asked me to like pay for anything or like pay rent. But around 9, 10 months, she was like, so do you think you might want to get a job sometime soon? And like, maybe like
in that sisterly kind of way. Right.
Super supportive. Right. It wasn't like, all right, you got to get a job with us and grow up. Right. She was like, she was so loving and so nice. I mean, she put up with so much crap. She was like, you think you might want to, get a job, very subtle. I was like, all right, I'll start looking. And still in denial, thinking I'm going to come back and recover, but my elbow's like barely working. So I'm like, okay, I've got to do something. I remember I was like applying for these sports marketing jobs in Columbus, Ohio, where I was living. And I was getting like, I had a pretty nice resume. I figured out how to make it look good and everything. And I was getting these like interview opportunities. I remember there's this one cool sports marketing company. I was like, man, I could actually enjoy this. And they're like, okay, we want you to come in this time, whatever, here's when we're gonna see you. And I remember I just could not go. I just had this like feeling in my stomach the night before. I was just like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna get this job if I go in. I feel like somehow I'm gonna trick them into hiring me. And I didn't show up in the morning. I didn't even email them saying I wasn't gonna come, but I was just like, this is not for me. And so I was like, all right, well, I've got to figure out how to make money on my own then. And I started helping people with their LinkedIn profile. Originally, I was like, okay, I've figured out this LinkedIn thing. I've connected with a lot of people over the last year. So I started helping people kind of optimize their profile and started making a little bit of money from that. But that really wasn't what was exciting to me. It wasn't making me a lot of income. It wasn't, supporting the lifestyle I wanted to live. Right. And so I started doing a lot more stuff online.
So that led to you becoming kind of like a guy who like really figured out how to mine LinkedIn in a very different way and build a substantial business largely around that.
Yeah, the thing I had over everyone else was time. I had all the time in the world where I was just literally on my laptop all day, researching on LinkedIn, connecting with people, and it's not that hard of a site to figure out. It's just like you've got to take time to develop the relationships. And once I put in that time and the energy, people started to think that I was like knew a lot about LinkedIn, which I did, and but it wasn't that hard for people to figure out. And once I was able to show them, they really started to see the results as well in their business, and their business started to grow.
So, and for you, you take that expertise then, say, okay, there might be an interesting business opportunity around me sharing what I know.
Right. I saw everyone else online, bloggers and social media experts, promoting products that they were creating about, Facebook marketing or YouTube or whatever it may be, or blogging. And I saw some of them were making a lot of money. And I was like, man, but these people have been around for 10, 20 years. They're already business people. They know what they're doing. So I was a little worried. I didn't think people would like believe in me. I was this young punk. I didn't have any experience. I'd never made money in my life. I had no clue what I was talking about. Didn't have a college degree. But I was just like, if they can do this, I can do it. I've got to figure out a way. And I was helping one person at a time getting those success stories from each individual, kind of packaging that experience, and then trying to create more from it. And it took a couple years to figure it out, but eventually webinars came to me, and that's what really started to change.
Right. So you take your expertise in LinkedIn, your now fairly sizable list, because you've been just helping people nonstop, and that's starting to grow your community.
Yep.
Blend it with this webinars. And from there, start to create products, educational products to teach people.
Yes. And I realized that the one-on-one, consulting wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to inspire a larger audience. So I had built this network, like you mentioned, started creating products. Remember, my first webinar was when it really hit me that I could build a business at the scale that I wanted to build it online without getting burnt out. And that was by reaching a big audience of 1,000+ people at a time through webinars, selling a course that I created for them as opposed to doing the one-on-one.
Right.
I remember the first webinar we did $6,300 in sales. That was the most money I've ever seen or made, in ever, basically. And that's kind of like the aha moment that was like, all right, I could do this every day for the rest of my life if I want to get these results.
Still on your sister's couch, by the way?
Moved to my brother's place. I actually
all right, so we changed siblings.
My sister, I was like, all right, I've been here for a year and a half. I think I've stayed my welcome or whatever, eating too much macaroni and cheese from her. And my brother's like, you can come stay at our place. We've got an extra room, but you got to pay something. And so I started paying $250 a month, which was a lot for me at the time. Yeah. But I was like, all right, I got to figure out how to afford something. So I stepped into that, started doing the webinars then, and eventually got my own place.
Yeah, and sort of flash forward, you end up bringing on a partner and building a substantial business around, and so now it's not just education it's around webinars, it's around LinkedIn, it's around Facebook, it's around a whole bunch of different...
A lot of online marketing topics,
and building a sizable client base and having a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Which is pretty important.
It's been amazing. And for me, it's always been about I got this taste of this lifestyle for, 6 months playing professional football. And it was wake up, work out, then hang out. That's pretty much what it was. And your days are free. You work out for a few hours and you're free. And I was just like, I don't want to be working, constantly at a desk all day. I want to build a lifestyle that I like, the things I want to do all day long, and then make money around that. And so luckily we kind of created that with our company early on. Yeah.
So a whole bunch of freedom, going from broken on the couch to, serious businessman, doing your own thing, creating a lot of freedom. But then something starts to sneak back with you.
Another dream as a kid was always to be an Olympian. Is this what you're getting at? Yeah. So I felt like I had achieved pretty much every athletic goal that I wanted. I was a pro athlete. I broke a world record, All-American. I did everything I wanted except for the Olympics. And the most inspiring moments of my life were for 2 weeks every 4 years during the Summer Olympics. But they don't have football. They don't have the sports that I really play. I'm not good enough in the sports that I do play. And I remember in 2008, I was watching the Olympics. I just gotten my cast off a few months prior to that. And I was watching this sport at 3 a.m. on the Olympics called team handball. And I'd never seen this sport before. And I was blown away by the athleticism of the athletes, by the skill of the game, and just the game in general. And I said, this is something I have to pursue. I have to see if I'm good enough to make the United States national team, to give myself a chance to be in the Olympics. I don't care what it takes, but I'm going to figure out a way to see if I'm good enough.
Right.
And at the time, 2008, I didn't have any money, so I couldn't move anywhere. And there was no club, there was no team in Columbus, Ohio. There was only, it was an amateur league, still is today in the United States. And so kind of the major cities had club teams. So I thought to myself, if I'm going to learn this, I got to find the best team in the country and learn from them. The national champions in the U.S. was New York City. So once I had enough money, I moved to New York and showed up at practice the first day and said, hey guys, from Ohio, I want to make the U.S. national team. And they all laughed. They laughed. I was the only born American who came to practice. There was 20 different nationalities of guys who had played pro in the past in Europe, who live in New York now. And yeah, they all laughed at me and said, "You're crazy. It's never going to happen."
So there's a pro league in Europe?
There's a bunch of pro leagues in Europe.
Oh, wow. Is there a pro league in the United States?
No pro league, just amateur.
Right. Because it's this sport. It's funny because when you first told me, you're like, yeah, I'm like coming to New York. I want to learn like play handball. For months, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, ball against the wall.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And there's an Olympic sport around that?
There's no Olympic handball.
I literally didn't get it until I caught team handball in the last Olympics on TV. And I was like, oh, wow, this is crazy, amazing, fast-paced sport.
Right. It's amazing. It's like, it's everything I learned as an athlete with like basketball and football and baseball and everything involved. It's like everything that I learned, the skills that I needed to know in one sport. So for me, it was just a matter of learning about the technique of the game and everything else that's involved, the movement, and for me to pick it up.
Yeah, and were you concerned about sort of limitations based on?
I was, yeah, because I can't really bend my wrist back that far. But luckily,
and you're righty, right? So that's
I'm
your
righty. It's my strong wrist. Yeah. Luckily, I still have good arm strength, but the best players in the world have amazing flexibility, and they can just like have so much control with their wrist and the way they flick the ball. I can't do a lot of those things. I just rely on power and accuracy, and that's about as best I'm going to get. But it's been fun.
So guys are laughing at you.
Yeah.
So from Ohio.
Yeah, half the team doesn't speak English,
right?
And so they're just like, who's this tall, white, gangly-looking American kid who thinks he knows what he's talking about?
Yeah.
Maybe it all comes back full circle where I just wanted to be accepted on the team. Now that I think about it,
I know. I'm like,
when they were all better than me, and I was just like, I need to prove myself that I can play with these guys. I never even thought about that, but I really just wanted to be on the U.S. national team, and I really wanted to just see if I can make the Olympics, because I like to do things that inspire me to do exciting things. I like to do things that I feel like are a challenge for me, that get me up every day, to have me working on something, as opposed to just going through, the daily motions.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons.
So you end up, did you just try out? Or like, how did you actually, because you're on the team now.
I'm on the U.S. national team, yeah.
Right, so you're representing the United States of America in international competition.
We did not qualify for the Olympics. You have to win the Pan American Games, which is basically North and South America. All the countries come together for a big tournament 6 months prior to the Olympics. And they only take one team. So whichever team wins that tournament goes to the Olympics. So you've got to be the best team, the best country on that weekend, basically. And we didn't qualify. So it's one of 3 sports, I believe, that the U.S. has never medaled for in the Olympics. If but if the Olympics were in the United States as opposed to London, then I would have been on the team. We would have went to the Olympics because the home country gets an automatic qualifier for every sport. So hopefully in 2020 we'll get the automatic qualifier.
So you're still working for it?
I'm still working for it. I'm hoping for 2016. I'm still playing with the team, and then I'm going to play as long as I can to make it a reality.
So right now, so this is sort of like a big focus for you.
Yeah, big focus. The thing is, it's like there's only so much I can do leading up into the Olympics, which is 3.5 years away. And there's only so much control we have as players and athletes under the United States Olympic Committee. We don't have the funding, so they don't bring us together that often. So it's really got to be the individual athletes playing professionally in Europe, getting together, trying to figure out how to raise money for the team to come together more, because the Olympic Committee is not helping us, unfortunately.
So it's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge because I don't have control.
Right.
Which
that must kill you.
It sucks because I want to go raise $5 million and bring our team together.
Right, and you probably could.
But it's like, but even if we raise the money, it's like we've got to win that week. And it's like, oh man, there's so many things going on that, the Olympic Committee really has to support this too and like get behind us. And it's like, what if they don't? So it's a struggle. So part of me is thinking, I want to keep pursuing this and also pursue an individual sport to try to make it in the Olympics.
So this is news to me. I didn't know about this part.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the best sport that I can control personally and see if I can compete.
Right.
But I haven't figured out that sport yet.
All right. Which kind of brings us to one other thing, which is businessman, professional athlete, hardcore athlete your whole life, salsa dancer.
Right.
And not just like serious salsa dancer.
Yeah, not ballroom style, but I love, I'm a big salsa dancer in the clubs, so it's like street salsa or club salsa, which is more interesting and more fun for me because it's like real improv on the dance floor with like raw, authentic music. Yeah, I used to live above a jazz club in Columbus, Ohio, and when I was in college. And I remember I would go down every Wednesday night. They would have a live salsa band. And I remember thinking to myself, these guys are amazing. You know, what they're doing on the dance floor, the art they're producing and creating is unreal. And I thought, if I could ever learn how to do this, it'd be like the best thing ever. I just thought it'd be an amazing experience. But I was so terrified to look bad and to like make any girl look bad that I was just like, I'm not even gonna try this. But I would go down there and watch every Wednesday night for like 3 or 4 months. Girls would always ask me to come and dance with them. I was just like, I don't know anything. I don't wanna make you look bad. And eventually I was just like, I gotta take the leap. I gotta do this or else I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. And then I became obsessed. I took class every day. I went out 3 times a week, salsa dancing. I only listened to salsa music. I was watching 2 hours of tutorials on YouTube every night and practicing in the mirror by myself. I became obsessed with learning it and trying to be, a great salsa dancer.
Right. So, there's so many common themes like resilience, determination. One of the things also that really jumps out at me is one of the biggest things I think stops so many people from doing amazing things, like reaching a level which is not just, okay, not just good, not just really good, but really, really, like excelling at an extraordinary level, is the inability to tune out distractions. Yeah. And it seems like you've got this ability to just become so hyper-focused.
I don't know if it's because of the sports background, where all we did in sports was focus on those 3 or 4 months of becoming like, we always had a goal at the end of the season to reach, whether it was state champions, conference champions, whatever.
Yeah.
We always had this goal in sports. And I give the credit to my coaches for like instilling that in me, is like always creating this goal for this part of time to achieve something. And during that time, nothing else mattered. It didn't matter what was happening in school for me. It didn't happen what was, relationships didn't matter. It was just like achieving that goal.
Yeah.
And maybe it comes back to like childhood or something where I just wanted to be a great athlete. But when I get in that mind frame, I guess, I don't know, I just want to achieve the goal more than anything else. And that's what I like to do.
Yeah, the blinders go on.
That's what it is. I don't know, I'm like a horse with blinders on.
No, I love it. Your journey is so inspiring on so many different levels. The ability to just completely change your identity, start from nothing, and build something substantial in business in a relatively short period of time, and then take that and go back and say, I'm broken in one way, but I can do something else, and I still have this goal.
Yeah.
And dive in and prove yourself on an international level there. Kind of like tells you, there's always a way.
There is, and I'm just not going to allow anyone to say you can't do something, because I feel like maybe I can't go play football again, but I can still be a competitive athlete, and I can still have fun and continue to inspire myself to do bigger things and hopefully inspire others along the way. And as long as I'm doing what I love and pursuing what I love, then I'm always going to have a good time.
So the name of this is the Good Life Project. So when I sort of say the phrase, live a good life, what does that mean to you? What comes up?
For me, it means doing exactly what you want every single day, how you want to do it, with the people you want to do it with. And I guess it's about, for me again, becoming the best version that I can be of myself every single day, living the lifestyle that I want to live, and pursuing big goals and dreams that inspire others. That's a good life to me.
Awesome. So thanks so much for being my guest today.
Thanks for having me.
Great conversation. So my guest today has been Lewis Howes. I'm Jonathan Fields, signing off for Good Life Project.